Look, Israel's been bombing Syria for some time now. And Russia's been sitting on the sidelines watching it for some time now. Russia went into Syria in 2015 to save the day for Bashar al-Assad. Russian intervention, I think history will show that because of the Russian intervention, Syria survived, and together with Iran and Hezbollah, the Russian forces were able to help the Syrian army achieve a strategic victory. That's still not a final victory, but a strategic victory. Iran played a critical role in that. So did Hezbollah, which doesn't make Syria or Israel very happy. Now, if it had just been left to doing some fighting, getting guys on the ground, getting ammunition, all stuff, fighting, I think Israel would have taken a more a lower profile approach. But even prior to this conflict, and again, here we go again, Ritter. 2006, Israel and Syria fight a major 33-day war, August, where a lot of the Israeli rhetoric that we hear regarding Hamas was said at the same time. This is it. We're going in. We're going to destroy Hezbollah. We're taking them down. It's all over. We're going to eliminate them. And 33 days later, the Israelis retreated because Hezbollah fought them to a standstill. It's one of the few times in history that an Arab military organization has defeated the Israelis. I think the other one was in 2000 after a 5-year campaign. Who was that? Hezbollah. They beat the Israelis too. So Hezbollah was pretty good at beating the Israelis. They beat them, but what you have to look at in a scenario like this or a situation like this is, what were the lessons learned? And one of the things that Hezbollah learned was that Israel strikes back disproportionately. In fact, out of the 2006 campaign came something called the Dahiyah principle, or mow the grass. That's the Israeli policy of collective punishment. Basically, if you're going to engage, they're going to punish the civilian population to such an extent that the civilian population will cease to support the entity that has irritated Israel. And in 2006, Israel blew the living hell out of West Beirut, excuse my language. I mean, they flattened it. And they flattened a lot of villages in southern Lebanon, killed a lot of innocent people. And they didn't kill that many Hezbollah, just to be frank. I mean, the Israeli casualty figures are here, but Hezbollah has since then come out. And what I found out about Hezbollah is they tend to tell the truth after the fact. I mean, they don't, because they're honest. They're very honest with their own people, because they are of the people. So Hezbollah is very honest with the Shia population. If they sent boys to fight, the boys die. But Hezbollah says only one brigade of Hezbollah force, around 3,000 fighters, was actively engaged with the Israelis. And those 3,000 fighters who took the brunt of the casualties, that the rest of the Hezbollah's forces never even were engaged. They didn't mobilize. They didn't. So Hezbollah actually beat Israel with one hand tied behind their back. But Hezbollah realized that Israel will come in and bomb the civilian population, and because that did after the fact. I mean, the fact that Hezbollah fought the Israelis to a standstill is what saved Hezbollah, because there was a lot of animosity inside Lebanon toward Hezbollah after that campaign because of the damage that had been done. And there's a lot of Lebanese going, hey, you guys are pretty good at fighting them Israelis, but we don't know if we like you anymore because our neighborhood's gone. And we're not happy about that. And Hezbollah got into the business of governing. They became heavily engaged. They exploited the reputation building aspects of fighting the Israelis to a standstill to become actively and positively engaged in the governance of Lebanon. They became, I think at one point in time, the Hezbollah party won the most votes of any party. I'm not a vote counter, but they didn't have enough for the majority in the parliament because they couldn't get a governing majority, but they became a player. They had to have cabinet members. They got to play in the game of making Lebanon better. And that's a big deal for Nasrallah and Hezbollah too. They very much care about their communities, community-based, etc. So to keep the Israelis from attacking like that, in case there was a blow up, because Hezbollah still hadn't forgotten its primary mission, which is to kick Israel out of all Lebanese territory. And Israel currently occupying places they call the Shabah farms, up in the adjacent to Golan. The key of the Shimon farms is that the two villages that are there are the sources for the spring water that feeds the River Jordan. And Israel doesn't want to give Lebanon control of that. So Israel is occupying that. And Hezbollah is saying that's our land. So they're in an active state of war with Israel over that land. And periodically, patrols run into patrols, missiles get fired. And what Hezbollah did is they said, we have to make sure that that never blows up into Israel blowing the hell out of West Beirut again. So what we need to do is build upon the missiles that rockets we had sent into Israel, and terrorized the Israelis. And when I mean terrorized, I don't mean as terrorism. I mean as the Israelis were scared to death of these rockets. And so Hezbollah said we need to massively increase the number of rockets and the capabilities. And this is what it becomes a project called the Precision Guided Project. And this is a project run by Iran to supply Hezbollah with longer range missiles, precision guided missiles, so that when Hezbollah, for instance, ran a drone over Israel, yes, they have many times, and it returned with imagery. And they published a photograph that says, this is the prime minister of Israel's residence. And if you look at that window right there, this rocket will go through that window and kill him, because that's the precision we now have. And it's not onesies or twosies. We got tens of thousands of them. Israel has made it their objective to prevent that from happening. Now we come to why Israel's bombing Syria. They're bombing it to disrupt this supply chain to come in. And the Russians came in, because you asked a question about the Russians. When the Russians came in, they were coming in there for Bashar al-Assad. What the Russians said is, we are not here to empower Iran to position itself against Israel, because Russia and Israel have very long, for the most part, good relations. There's a good relationship. Russia listens to Israel listens to Russia, and they tend to try and avoid confrontation, because a lot of the Jews that recently immigrated to Israel come from Russia, and so there's this symbiotic relationship there that Russia is not going to throw away. Russia doesn't want to go to war against Israel, and Israel doesn't want to go to war against Russia. So what Russia said is, we will not. If you attack the Syrian government, with a regime change type assault, or if you do anything to attack us, all bets are off. We'll go hot and heavy. But we're not here to empower the Iranians, and they told the Iranians that we're not going to protect you. We're not here to protect you. And so what Israel has been doing is bombing the Iranian supply effort to get stuff into Lebanon. And so now Iran has some new technologies that were not part of the original. When you have a project like the Precision Guided Missile Project, you send a system in, it comes in kits, and then the Hezbollah people have to be trained up on how to assemble these kits, because you have to respect Israeli intelligence and Israeli capabilities. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, so that Israel could come in and hit it in a preemptive strike and take out all your assets. So it's a lengthy process to absorb this technology. And it's done in a very secretive way and a very compartmentalized way. And the reason why I bring that up is, it's not a system that's conducive to rapid change. There are a lot of systems right now in Iran that Hezbollah doesn't have. Hezbollah right now is incorporating systems that are 10 years old. They're good systems, but they're not the best. The Iranians have actually jumped forward by an order of magnitude in terms of the quality of their systems, which is bad news for American bases in the region, bad news for American shipping. But because they haven't made it to Israel yet, it's good news for the Israelis. So what Israel is trying to do is, as tensions are ratcheted up, I'm sure they detected some intelligence that was Hezbollah saying, we need you to fast forward some of these assets, because Hezbollah's policy right now is deterrence. Believe it or not, Hezbollah is in constant communication with the Israelis. Constant communication with the Israelis. They have a red line. The Israelis don't pick it up. They're not talking directly, but there's middlemen. There are a variety of channels where they're having very, very intensive discussions about what's going on, to try and de-escalate, to keep it from blowing up. And the Hezbollah people are telling the Israelis, what we're doing is deterrence. We don't want to preemptively attack you. It's not our job. But if you bomb Western Beirut again, we will take out northern Israel. We will take out Tel Aviv. We will take out Haifa. That's what our capabilities are. And the Israelis have been watching this take place. And so they believe they've put in a system that's capable of interdicting most, if not all, of the missiles that come in from Hezbollah. Hezbollah is telling Iran, in order to keep deterrence up, because remember, if the Israelis are confident that they can take down the Hezbollah systems, then that means that Israel now believes it could be freed up to carry out its own preemptive act. And why would Israel want to carry out a preemptive strike against Hezbollah? I'll tell you why. Because last year they ran an exercise called Chariots of Fire. This year they ran an exercise called Firm Hand. These were exercises designed to stress test the IDF on every potential conflict that could occur at the same time, to see if the IDF had the ability to beat Hamas, beat Hezbollah, control the West Bank, contain Syria and Iran at the same time. And the answer both times was not just no, but hell no, can't do it. And that's a can't do it waiting to be attacked. Now, the way you change the calculus is to say, okay, if we can't beat them by, if they, once they initiate the attack, we don't have the capacity to repel and respond. What if we preempt? What if we know we've just deployed 300,000 troops to Gaza and we're getting ready to decisively commit them to a battle that once they're in that battle, we can't unplug them. And if Hezbollah comes across, we're sort of screwed. So what if we preempt? What if we go in first and take out Hezbollah? And Hezbollah is calling up Iran saying, we have to get the deterrence thing up, baby. You need to give us some of these weapons, some of these newer weapons, so we can call the Israelis and say, that preemption thing, don't think about it because we have new capabilities and we're just going to take you out. You say, well, why would Hezbollah do that? You guys do know that Hezbollah publishes propaganda videos all the time. And the propaganda videos are sort of bragging about what they have. Now, why would they do that? Why would you tell the Israelis what you have? Deterrence. What good is deterrence if the other side doesn't know about it? So Hezbollah is trying to get weapons so they can call the Israelis up and say, yeah, you guys, we know you're thinking about preemption. Don't, because we got new weapons. And what Israel's doing right now is trying to disrupt that supply chain to keep those weapons from flowing into Hezbollah. So that's why they're blowing up the Aleppo airport and the Damascus airport to prevent the flow of weapons that would have to come in by aircraft. And that's another reason why you continuously see them bombing the Abu Kamal al-Qaim crossing there between Syria and Iraq, because the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Command has built a massive warehouse facility in Abu Kamal where they receive this material before it's pushed on. And so this is what Israel's up to. They're trying to interdict Iran's ability, and I believe that I think it's an active program by Iran right now as we speak to get some of their most modern weapons capabilities into the hands of Hezbollah to increase Hezbollah's overall deterrence capacity.